Hello again, I'm Tony and I'm building a tank. So I've unpacked all 4 boxes from Armortek and it's a little bit daunting, but here it is. It's the whole kit unpacked, thousands of pieces. I will say that Armortek do pack extremely well, and they actually, all the packing peanuts are all biodegradable, so all very environmentally friendly. So I unpacked this last night, and I got the instructions and lost a whole night's sleep looking at these because it is complex. Needed a large glass of wine to get through it, but it's all here. I can kind of tell some of the components. I mean, there's obviously wheels and axles and bushels and parts of the turret and more wheels and track and cables and thousands of fixings and what have you. And I'm going to start where I think I should start. I'm following a guy on YouTube in America called Brian, and he's started his build. He's an advanced builder, so I'm hoping I can learn from him. And he tells me the best place to start would be the axle and getting these bushels and everything else prepared. So I'm going to take this and separate it into sections of what I'm going to start. And then I'll, when I want to get closer to that, I'll do a bit more filming. But I just thought I'd show you what this kit looks like when it's fully unpacked. And I'm looking forward to it, but also a little bit scared. So I've packed everything away, and I'm going to start on the suspension bar system. And these are the suspension bars, and these brass bushes go inside these, like so. But from the research that I've done on various YouTube channels, what you must do is make sure that the axle part slides very freely with the brass bushel, like so. And you should do that before you enter into putting the brass bushels in here. So I've done 3 already. Now, I haven't got a deburring tool, although I have ordered one and it should be here soon. So I've had to work out how to do this for best. So I'm going to show you. So basically, a piece of the axle here, a bushel, you can see it doesn't actually want to go on because it needs to be deburred. And if it does go on, it just won't fit on the sleeve entirely. So what we have to do is we have to deburr the brass bushel. Now I've got a small modelling half circle file, and I'm just going to take the rough edges off the brass bushel on the inside. If I had a deburring tool, this would be so much easier. So when that arrives, I will continue to do this. Now, I'm guessing, again, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing here. I'm guessing we just need to make sure it's free enough to spin without taking too much of the brass off, because we don't want it loose. I thought I'd start here because it seems, I mean, the rest of it it's like War and Peace, that book, and I think I'm going to need a really stiff drink to get through the rest of it. But I know this piece because I've watched it several times on other YouTube videos, and I think I know what I'm doing for this bit. I'm quite comfortable, fairly tedious, but also quite satisfying job. So what I've done here is I've just got a large piece of wooden dowel. I've wrapped a piece of sandpaper, wet and dry type sandpaper, very fine, and I'm just spinning it around the inside, just cleaning up the inside of that brass bushel. Now the same with the axle piece. I'm going to get a piece of wet and dry and just try and smooth that off as I'm turning it. That's not going to take too much of the metal off. It's really just trying to soften the surface. And let's just see. And that's a lot better, but I think I need to do a bit more. But it certainly runs freer. So I'm just going to take this, wrap this P320 sandpaper. It's actually off a sanding, like a power sander, but it works very well. Wrapping it around a piece of, this is a 10mm dowel, which I've used for other modelling. When I say modelling, I mean very simple modelling, static models. I've made a few trains, 1 to 32 scale trains, and several scale buildings, as my background is in architecture, and I love scale. I love scale models. I love the fact that you can miniaturize anything pretty much. Now Armortek, I must admit, I'm so impressed with the quality of the build. Everything seems to be really well made, cast, the steel components, the aluminium components. But again, following what I did earlier on, I'll show you in a moment, but getting the axle arm through onto this section here is a bit challenging, and it's only because I think where these have been cast, dyed and cut, and then they've gone through with a grub screw on the end of this, it's made it difficult. So I'll show you what I've come up with as a solution for that. And that seems to be running quite nicely now. I'll just do a comparison to what I've done previously. I think I need to do that a little bit more. So this can be a bit tedious. I'm actually enjoying it. What else can you do on a rainy day, January in the UK? Shopping? Nah. There's nothing on the telly. I'm not really into football. I like watching it, but it's not why. I'm a rugby man, really. In fact, ironically, when I was playing rugby a long time ago, I played it for about 15 years, I had a nickname, and I was called Tony the Tank. But that's not because I was built like a tank or as strong as a tank, it's because I drank like a tank. So I had a bit of a rep about that, and ironically, all these years later, here I am building a tank. I'm not encouraging drinking, by the way. Yeah, it's I'm not here to do that, but I did drink my fair share in those days. I guess if my mates saw me now building this, they'd see the irony in it, I guess. Anyway, I think we're almost done with this. Just want to make sure that this is as smooth running as possible. I might take that up a course. I'm going to use a P600 on this. You can actually hear the difference. Hopefully just smoothing this bar off. I think in total it takes around about five minutes to do one to a standard. There we go. That's. I think we'll do a bit more on the inside of this. But I think it's worthwhile. I'm trying to do this carefully, because I don't want to get to a point later on in the build where I've rushed something early on in the build which has a direct effect on the performance of the tank when it's finished. Because it'll just be down to me, this. And I think, like any other models I've built in the past, just patience is the key. And enjoy yourself. I normally have the music on, but when I'm filming I don't. But I have a bit of music on in the background just to keep, and that's perfect now. That's running beautifully and smooth. Now, the next thing is I want to just test fit these. I think, pretty sure these have to be Loctite in, and that goes in, but not as far as it really should do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn my back to the camera a minute. I've got my bench vise set up. I'm going to actually just turn this around so you can see. So I have my bench vise set up here. I just, with a bit of heavy duty material to clamp that into place so I don't damage it. And I'm just going to slowly turn this onto the thread. And that's going to remove all the swarf. So I know that that now turns beautifully and smooth. And then turn it the other way. Wipe the thread off. This is unconventional. I guarantee there'll be people on there, I shouldn't be doing that. But I can actually see the swarf being removed as I do that. And then, so now this turns, I don't know if you can see this. This turns beautifully into place with no effort whatsoever. as it should do, and the other side as well. Oh, sorry, so I told you I can't YouTube to save my life. Anyway, I'm going to come back to what I'm focusing on the table. I'm going to carry on doing this and talking to myself as I do it. Each time I do one of these, I have a little set of brushes just to give that a final clean through there and there, and I'll stack that as ready there, and the same with this. Four down, 12 to go. So I think really it's a slow process, but if you understand that before you set out on this build, and you understand you can't build this in a weekend, this is hours and hours. Armortek sites suggest that it's up to 250 hours, which in itself doesn't seem that long, but when you're only doing it weekends and evenings, which I'll be doing, that's going to be spread out. And that's without any hiccups, and it's out without the learning curve, and without interruptions and life getting in the way and that kind of thing. So I'm fully prepared that this is probably going to take me best part of 12 months to build, but I'm looking at the end of this thinking it's worthwhile. And I don't even know at what stage it's going to be ready for the other elements of it, and the motion pack and all the other options. So that basically this is just the static build tank. The options which Armortek offer include the motion pack, the sound pack, the recoil pack, machine gun pack, lighting pack, and a sound pack. So if I've said that already, but anyway, there's like £2,500 worth of kit there to go on top of this, plus the batteries, plus the transmitter and radio gear. So I'm way off this, but I'm not in a rush. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to enjoy every step of this. Hopefully I'll get frustrated, and I'll get, I will get confused, and I'll probably need a lot of help from fellow YouTubers. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to carry on doing this. I'll do this in the background while you carry on watching, I guess, and my son will help me speed this up with a bit of time lapse. So enjoy. Thanks very much again for watching. Right, so done all these now. These have all been rubbed down, deburred, and run beautifully and freely on this. Now, although it's out of sequence of the Armortek instructions, looking at you fellow YouTubers and fellow Armortek tank builders, they recommend to do this prior to these bushes being housed in their final location. I think I'm still going to have to clean these out before I put these bushes in some cases, just from the casting. I mean, that's gone in there quite nice, but it could be that some of them are going to have a bit of a struggle. So that's been done. Although I'm not going to be doing any of this part till later on, I wanted to clean these bushes up in advance of putting them into this. So the next part of the build is pretty much the first part of the build, according to Armortek. So it's the base, the axle bars, all the fixings, the bushes, and Loctiting these into position. So I'm going to clean this up, get this unwrapped, and then the next stage will be to get this finished to this part. Right, hi and welcome back. Still Tony, still trying to build a tank, very early stages. So I've unpacked everything and then started looking through the instructions and what I've already found out on YouTube. So we've cleaned up the brass bushes that are going to go in the suspension bars, and I've Loctited these in now, so they're all in position. All the axle bars run beautifully and smoothly. So then I thought, right, what I'll do is I'll get everything ready for the first build. So page 1 of the lower, which is the construction of the lower hull 1. So I went out and I very brilliantly found everything on the Armortek packing list, and I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and see what I need on section 2, which is the lower hull section. And lo and behold, I spent a good half an hour trying to find a product part called CK0127. So if you're building this tank and you've received the same kind of packaging as I have, just a heads up, a CK0127 is this tiny little hole plug, which is this tiny little beautifully made aluminium hole plug. However, I couldn't find it anywhere. I was panicking a little bit, thinking, have I lost it? Have I thrown it out in the packing? Although I was very careful how I went through it. But then I went through every single bag, and I found it on bag number 1, but unfortunately, Armortek, it's labelled incorrectly as CE0127 as opposed to CK0127 in your instructions. No big deal, found it, but hopefully that might save some of you some time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to unpack the whole base, and I'm going to fasten, using the fasteners that I've pulled out and put to one side, the suspension bars to that, and these plates which will be part of the hull. And again, I have no idea what they do at this stage. It is all a massive learning curve for me. But what I have done is I've separated all the fixings out into one of these magnetic trays. I'd recommend getting one of these. I've got my sort of small socket set here ready to go. Every size socket I'm going to need is here. All my nuts and bolts and fixings I've pulled out and got here. So I've got everything I need to get to a point of page 2 of the build. So I'm going to carry on now, and we're going to start building this. Yeah, so I'm going to crack on with this in a minute, but I have got a very important person in my garage and workshop today. She's an amazing little helper. She's my beautiful granddaughter. Do you want to come and say hello? She's going to be the prime helper here on my project. And there she is. And how old are you now? 6. Nearly 7. Yeah. Nearly 7. And you're going to help Granddad? Yeah? Okay. It's complicated though, so you have to be very, very helpful, all right? And not be a pain, all right? No pain. You have to be helpful, all right?
Pain.
All right. Okay, so we're going to go on to zip through our time lapse now. So I'm going to say goodbye for now, and we're going to carry on and do this through time lapse because I don't want to bore you. Right, so here we go, day one, and what we've accomplished so far with the help of my son is the hull construction. Further than I thought I'd get actually today. Really enjoyed this. And there we have, there's the all important registration. I don't know if you can see that. Registration, Armortek 2021, tank number 45. So this is the whole construction completed. And we're going to go on to what looks really scary tomorrow. The rest of it and see how far we get. Thoroughly enjoyed in building this today. Really did. What a great way to spend a rainy afternoon. And that's it. And we'll catch up again on the next part of the builds. So this is Tony trying to build a tank, saying goodbye and thank you for tuning in again. Bye.